Good morning. This is the weather hazard briefing for Thursday, December 8th. Thank you for joining us this morning. Taking a look at what we have going on. We have some pockets of dense freezing fog across the area this morning. This will likely continue through about 11 o'clock or so. So we certainly urge motorists to remain alert for sudden drops in visibility as you're driving across area roadways this morning. Otherwise, things will be generally pretty quiet today aside from the fog, but the first wave of a long-duration winter storm arrives on Friday, with things looking quite snowy for much of the area, especially as you head up into the mountains over the next few days. Taking a look at the satellite across the western United States this morning, you can see some areas of low clouds and fog across eastern Idaho this morning, and this is the first wave of that multi-day storm system that I mentioned earlier coming into the Pacific Northwest this morning. We do have that freezing fog advisory out through 11 o'clock this morning for these areas. Things have kind of been wavering back and forth throughout much of the overnight, with visibilities generally kind of rising and falling across much of the area. So it's kind of hit or miss out there as of right now, but conditions remain favorable for the freezing fog to continue through the late morning hours. So that's really the only thing weather-wise that we're worried about today. And then as you can see, as we head into Friday and into through the weekend and into early next week, chances for snow every day area-wide. Temperatures are quite cold out there this morning, generally teens with some single digits as you head up into the higher terrain and up towards the Montana border. Certainly quite cold, so with that fog being observed out there, certainly expecting it to freeze on contact with surfaces. So be sure to be weather aware as you head out this morning. Things don't warm up very much today, with temperatures generally right around freezing as you get into the lower Snake Plain and into the Magic Valley, with temperatures remaining in the low to mid-20s across much of the rest of the region. Very similar conditions expected on Friday, and this will be the first day of our multi-day storm event. And you can see those temperatures are quite cold, so precipitation type will be all snow with this system. That being said, it is going to be a pretty quick-moving system, so we're not expecting any huge accumulations with it. Generally about an inch or so at best. In the valley locations, and as you head into the higher terrain, generally 1 to 3 inches, maybe some isolated higher amounts across the highest peaks as you head into the Sawtooths and around Island Park and the Bear River Range, but generally 1 to 3 inches with those highest totals focused across the high country, but we will get some very light accumulating snowfall in the interstate corridors. That being said, here's our percent chance of 1 inch or snow of more with this system. So you can see there in the interstate corridors, these probabilities are a little low, but we are expecting accumulating snow nevertheless. But what those higher totals are certainly focused across the high country. And as we bump this up to 2 inches of snow or more, you can see those probabilities are almost non-existent in the interstate corridor, with everything generally focused for this particular wave, generally in the central mountains, with those much higher probabilities. Even the eastern highlands, you can see the probabilities are quite low. So everybody will see snow, as I said, but generally for this wave of the event, certainly focused across the central mountains area. As we get into Saturday, things warm up just a touch, which makes kind of the forecast a little bit trickier and makes those snowfall amounts a little trickier in the Snake Plain and the Magic Valley. Certainly all snow across the high terrain, and this is the day where we're expecting some pretty decent snowfall totals. You can see we're highlighting 6 to 8 inches right now, and this is just for Saturday. See 6 to 8 inches across much of the central mountains. We'll likely have winter storm watches at some point, perhaps later this afternoon, if not later today, certainly by tomorrow morning. Winter storm watch is likely for portions of that area. But again, as you get outside of the mountains on Saturday, those snowfall totals aren't overly impressive. Things will shift late Saturday into the day Sunday, and that's where the snowfall totals are bit more widespread and a lot higher as you head across to the rest of eastern Idaho. But again, not a super impactful system, but some decent snow accumulations nevertheless expected everywhere as we get into Sunday, with those continued higher totals likely across the high country, but again 1 to 3 inches in the Snake Plain and the Magic Valley, and certainly our lower valley location seems pretty probable. So prepare for another day of winter weather on Sunday. These colder temperatures look to stick around in the extended. This is our 6 to 10 day temperature outlook, and you can see all of the area well below normal, much of the western United States for that matter. But certainly we're kind of ground zero for the much colder than normal temperatures, with our precipitation outlook generally things looking around normal for this time of year. So again, expect that those areas of dense freezing fog this morning to continue, and then the first wave of the long duration winter storm arrives on Friday, with more significant snowfall expected Saturday and into Sunday across much of the area. That's all I have for you this morning. Thank you for joining us, and have a great Thursday.